How you leave those combine operators without a grain cart driver for just a little bit. They put the first dump on the road. Terrible. It's time to start waxy corn harvest. That means a premium price for us, but also a little bit of extra effort on the front end. We've cleaned out the trucks, the combine, and the grain cart of all the dent corn we've harvested. Dryer is transferring out dent corn right now. Then we'll have to sweep the floor and clean that out, get the dump cleaned out, run the leg for a while, let it get cleaned out. Then we'll probably, I usually cut 10-20 bushel, flush it through the combine, flush it through the grain cart with Waxy. Make sure we got everything flushed out. We have to pass a waxy corn test, so you have to have waxy purity, and it's also non-GMO, so we have to pass that test too. So we take several samples from every bin and send those in, and they'll run the non-GMO test to see that we pass. And last week we hopped around and harvested all our border rows, which we mix in with the dent. So the border rows are anywhere where we or a neighbor has a cornfield next to our waxy cornfields. So we have to take off a pass or two with the combine and pull that dent corn, and that's just to prevent any cross-contamination from pollination. Not a big deal, never really been a problem, but it's nice we've already been around and got all that, so now we don't have to screw with borders. We can just go to the fields and go and harvest pure waxy. So I'm going to grab a few bushels now to flush out. Like I said, we're pretty flushed out already, because if you saw the previous day's video, what we did was we jumped over to our last field of dent corn. It was way too wet, so then we went across the road, took the one border we needed to take off that waxy field, and then this waxy field here at the shop had a couple borders to take off on the opposite end, so we got those. So we've run about a truckload and a half of waxy corn through here, but now that we've blown everything down and cleaned everything out, the grain tank, grain cart, we're going to go ahead. I'm just gonna cut one more pass here by the driveway behind the bins, flush it through the combine, through the grain cart, into a truck, and then we should be all super duper clean and pure, ready to go. Cleaning out the dryer now. There'll be more than a truckload in there, I guess. So take a little bit to get cleaned out. Run this truck to town. And then once the dryer's all cleaned out, that 50 or so bushel I dumped in the truck, flush it through the dump, and that'll have everything cleaned out. A couple spots up there by that upper door got to be cleaned out too. Make sure there's no dent corn hanging up there. So I'm working in here, watching the truck fill. Dad's also up there cleaning out all the ledges where stuff hangs up around the chutes that drop the, there it goes right there. That dropped the corn out of the drying floor. So could have a smoother design up there, but ought to clean it out anyway for purity. Final flush from the combine to the grain cart to the truck, the dump to the leg to the wet bin, back into this truck, and it'll go off to town. Even make sure the brooms are clean. Well, we've been out in the field for a while. Talking close to 20 acres down out here. There's about 70 in this field. A little disappointing so far, but kind of expected. This was a cornfield last year, so this is corn on corn, and it's the non-GMO waxy, so it doesn't necessarily have as much protection from bugs and stuff, and the corn on corn can suppress a little bit, even though we had fungicide out here for disease. I do have...
When I get down here, I'm going to have to go, but I should be able to be back in about an hour.
But disappointing on the yield so far. It's averaging just over 180. which is a letdown from the 228 we just come from, but knew this was a little tougher conditions for the corn. This was also intended to be a soybean field, so this had cereal rye cover crop, which you don't generally do ahead of corn, so we killed it off kind of early. So that's why I put on some nitrogen ahead, which I would have done for corn on corn anyway. And if we expand out to the whole field here and go back to in-season applications, you can see I ran on 5.9. That's when I ran 50 pounds of nitrogen across the whole field ahead. And then I did some side dress on 6.11. So I ran some nitrogen then. And then, so what I did, there was a couple like 20 acre blocks out here. I only did half rate at side dress, and I came back and did the other half on 6.24. So these blocks I'll be able to pick out and see if they did any better. Now we were so dry, I don't think we lost any nitrogen at all in that 2-week span in between applications. So I don't think there'll be much of a difference, but we'll see when I get all done. I'll still check it anyway. Just looking at my little spreadsheet of yield history for this field. We've only actually had corn 2 other times in this field since we started making that spreadsheet when I started farming back in 2009. So here's 13 years later. We've only had corn twice out here, regular corn. We've had popcorn out here several times, and it's made some really good popcorn crops, but the average of the 2 years on corn is only like 186, so I'm just a few bushels under that now. So it's only got a couple data points, but it's not historically super great cornfield. So we'll see. Odd that it makes usually pretty good popcorn, but haven't been so strong on the corn, although we kind of set it up to take a hit this year. But other than that, I still think we're going to have a really good corn crop, because we dipped into the other fields that are left on Saturday when we were messing around doing borders and stuff, and those are still going to be pretty good, I think. So I think we'll still have a 200 plus bushel year for the whole farm. Definitely too much foxtail in parts of this field, if you can see it between the rows. That happens sometimes. This field's had foxtail on it before, so it's probably got a pretty good seed bank. Some parts are clear. This is an extra thick spot, but yeah, that doesn't help. And problem with a non-GMO corn is, corn being a grass itself, it is hard to kill other grasses. You can do it early in the season with some different products, but once the corn gets to a certain stage, you can't do that. So, and I don't remember any of this being out here when I did that late June side dress application. So it comes on late. Anyway, hopefully the other fields are better. We have this field. We got the neighbor between us, and then we have another 80 on the other side of this. So we'll see how it compares. It's got mostly the same hybrid in it as this field does. Temporarily short-handed, so it's me and the combine and Tony driving trucks. My dad's doing after-school pickup. Grain cart driver had to run to an eye doctor appointment. No big deal. So doing a little deadheading through the field here. See, I'm leaving rows short, so I'm came down this path, turned around, and came up short there, which tells you something about the yield for this field. Half-mile passes through this field. In the last field we're in, I couldn't make a half-mile pass without getting through. Now I can turn around and get halfway back, so definitely a big yield difference. You leave those combine operators without a grain cart driver for just a little bit. They put the first dump on the road. Terrible. The grain cart returns. Waiting on trucks now, so got some downtime. They said it might be a while before the next one, so cleaned my windows, did some maintenance I would otherwise do tomorrow morning, so already got that done. Now just kind of hang out and wait. I just got a text that truck that pulled up is our last full one. So fill the cart, go back to the shop, see what's going on. Says maybe we're having dryer problems again. So waiting on the grain cart to come. Filling that last truck right now, and we'll fill the grain cart and it can sit here overnight. Make sure not to fill too full so we can get the tarp closed because it might rain. So we'll see about that. And we'll go to the shop and see what's going on and probably be home for the night before too long. If you wonder what's going on in here, it's the week before Halloween. Listening to Frankenstein. Just started today. It's only 8.5 hours long, about 2 hours in, and part of a book club that will talk about it this Sunday night. There is a deer right there. She's been running out as I go by and coming back in. So if we're lucky, maybe I'll get video of her jumping out the end row or something when we get to the end. I never really have any luck getting a lot of animals on film. There she goes. I gotta come back in. There she goes. Go hide in the other 20 acres. Well, this other side of the field looks better and seems to be performing better. So we got a green stripe amongst the orange. Got two different hybrids over here, and this northwest corner of the field can be a little bit wetter and it's a little better soil, and since it was a pretty dry year, that makes sense that it would have better water retention and maybe grow a little better crop. Seen it before. Check this out. It's going to be a good one this evening. Let me get turned here. Oh yeah. Maybe not too focused for you, but gonna be a nice sunset. There goes my neighbor, Becky. Also works for our fertilizer retailer. Also, she's a seamstress. She brought me two of these, one for the combine and one for the grain cart. Because it blocks out all the light. Well, get my camera off, I'm full. Because, as far as I know, you can't make this thing go dim like you can the older displays. I think even a Deere AMS guy told me you can't do that. So I said, can you sew me like a bag that I can slip over these things? He's like, yeah, send me the dimensions. I found some blackout material. So now we can slip a bag over these things. And when we drive down the road, you can probably already see a little bit. See, there's a reflection from the one in the corner, but I can fold that one up out of the way. And I can, of course, shut my iPad off. But the flashers, when you're going down the road, and this thing reflecting on the windows, and when you're driving at night, it's not that fun. So this is cool. So see, it's actually a bag. I just threw it on there, but it slips right on, fits perfect. Awesome. And she brought snacks. Ate some of these the other day. I like this peanuts, M&M's, sunflowers thing. It's pretty good. Been sitting waiting on the last truck for a while. It's coming. Time to fire back up. Light things up. Unload the grain cart. Another round or two here, and we'll be down in the field for the night. There'll be 13 acres or so left to get tomorrow. Loading. About halfway done. Almost my turn. This is the first time I get to show off my candy corns this year. I light up yellow tips on the outside rows. They look neat. I don't think they serve much purpose, but they kind of look like candy corn. Night dumping. See what I mean about the reflections in the windows? A little dusty going this direction. Probably won't be going the other way. A little bit more of this tonight and then we'll be done. Dad texted me he'll go home for a bit, come back and unload another truck, then I can go make sure the dryer is doing well about 11 o'clock. Late night dryer check, see what's going on. Sounds like things are working because it sounds like the wet bin's unloading. Let's see what's going on. I wish you could smell it. Best smell, drying corn. Yeah, so the wet bin it's running out. Don't know if you can see it back there. So we're loading. It's looking good. A little squeaky over here. Maybe I'll grease the leg. There, just shut off. So that means it's full up top. If you haven't heard how the dryer works before, actually that is going up right now. Oh, because our grain just got to temperature. So Dad's got it set. He wants it to get up to 111 to get dry. So it's dumping. And it dumped enough that we're loading again. That's a little odd. Make sure everything's... I'm going to watch it for a cycle, make sure it's working. So loading. There. Probably can't see that cable, but the chutes are closing, so it's loading. So the way this dryer works, it's not a continuous flow dryer where corn just comes in and goes out. So it's a top dry. So up there, there's a floor where the wet corn gets held up there, and the hot air goes up there and it gets dried. And when the grain up there gets to a certain temperature, at least that's the way we're running it right now, then those chutes open and it drops down. This corn stays hot down here and helps keep the heating efficient up there by having a massive heat down here. And either when the dryer gets full or the wet bin gets empty, it'll understand that it's not going to get any more corn. It'll go into cool down mode. So hopefully that all happens overnight without any interruption, and when we get here in the morning it'll be cooling or cooled, and then we will transfer out and put it in another bin. Start all over again. As I've seen the dark, as the burner just went from low fire to high fire. So I think everything's fine. You see our grain temperature is dropping as it's getting new corn in there as it's loading. So about 180 should be our max temp on the air plenum. So see, the high fire just cut off, so the light went off. Now it's kicking back on, keeping it itself at 180. Might be able to see better if I open the glass up. Not any glare then. So this is what we're asking it to do, to have the air temp in the plenum at 180 and the grain be at 111. So it's loading. See, the temperature dropping because it's getting new wet corn in out of the field. So I'll just watch this for a cycle, and everything goes well. I'll just walk away, go home, and get some sleep. So it's a little quieter now because the wet bin quit loading. So now it's just in drying mode. So now all it's doing is heating up this grain. When this gets to 111, this will switch to dumping again. And after it dumps, the dryer or the wet bin will automatically kick on, reload into the leg, up in the dryer, start a new batch of wet corn to dry out. So I think everything's looking good. I'm just gonna sit here until it hits 111 and wet bin kicks back on. I think everything's looking good. Dad said there was a overload problem earlier. Haven't hit a reset button a couple times, but it doesn't seem to be doing that now. So electrician's supposed to come tomorrow and look at it, but let's just hope it runs all night just fine as it is. It's pretty nice for October 24th. It's 68 degrees out. It's, what time is it? I took my watch off. It's like 11:30, something like that. Getting close to 11:30. Pretty nice out. It's supposed to rain tomorrow. We could actually use a rain. A little weather station at my house was predicting 0.8 of an inch. That would be nice. Our wheat really needs it. Our cover crops are not grown near as much as we're used to, so they can use it. So fingers crossed, dryer runs good all night. We'll get a good soaker tomorrow.